Let me turn my mic on. I had a hard time coming on tonight. I actually had to change mics. Uh, my name is Larry Duncan Allen. This is No More Water Fire Next Time. And thank you for tuning in. Let me check my mic out here for a second. Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a little rough time coming on tonight, but I made it. And thank you for tuning in. But look, I know I have a subject that talks about how whites have been fed propaganda. But I want to touch on something else first. And it's about what's going on with Tyler Perry. Now, I've always told you, I don't like talking about celebrities because, they live a different lifestyle, different from everyone, including other rich people. And much of the things you hear about them aren't true anyway. But this thing going on with Tyler Perry and other celebrities, I like to know, when does these celebrities have time to apply their trade and craft? Because all they're doing is outing each other, gossiping about each other. Be the first to say I don't snitch. I mean, all day long, that's all you hear is someone outed someone else. So you can't really. That's why I don't like to talk about them much, because you can't pay them much what they do much attention. Most of the stuff you hear isn't true anyway. I can remember years ago when Michael Jackson and Stephanie Mills supposed to have been a couple. And she later told the truth. They said they were never a couple. They only saw each other and got together to take photos together. So that was a publicity stunt. So that's why I don't get off into celebrities much. And whatever's going on with Tyler Perry, they they'll deal with that. He'll deal with it. Or whoever, let those people involved deal with it. Because I don't expect much of a moral lifestyle from celebrities anyway. I worked around them when I was working in Hollywood out in Los Angeles. I don't expect much moral character from them. Now back now to the subject about the white people being fed propaganda. Um, you notice how they started this woke movement? Now, who would tell someone not stay asleep, don't be woke? They have to be hiding something from you, something they don't want you to know. And it would take some foolish people to go along with that. Someone gonna tell me I don't want you woke, I don't want you learning. That would be a problem to me. One thing that has happened is that they've been fed a lot of propaganda, especially about the black people, and they don't want the other white people finding out about it. You notice they just started the woke movement right after George Floyd. What happened was many white people saw what was going on, and they was actually siding with black people. Matter of fact, black people haven't done much protest. I've said this before. Hasn't done much protesting and marching since Ferguson. Much of Black Lives Matters was black people. White people. I'm sorry, white people. They're just about taking it over. I never was a protester. I told you I didn't believe in protesting because I just never believed in peaceful protest. Two words shouldn't even be in the same sentence to me. I'm not going to respond to your violence against me with peace. Let me get mine in, then maybe we can negotiate. But look, back to what I was saying. Um, I would record and live stream many of the protests. But what would happen is I noticed that during that era, right after, during George Floyd and thereafter, I had my camera at the stage and my back is to the audience. And when I turned, and I found out later there was about 600 people out there. I turned to the audience, and I couldn't find a black person. This was a Black Lives Matters march. Well, I guess it was because, every march was coined Black Lives Matters, regardless if it was sanctioned by the organization or not. It was more of a phrase than a organization, a slogan. But I couldn't find a black person. And when you roll down Grand or Kings Highway, you leave the north side, then you head out to the white areas. When you're in the black area, you would find in the black areas, you would find a Black Lives Matter sign sprinkled here or there. But when you got to the white areas, there was one in just about every yard. And so, and this was happening all over the nation. And they felt that white people was waking up to what was going on. And they was becoming more our allies. And we do still have a lot of white allies. More than we do people of color. They've never been our allies. I tell you, we can expect more allies out of white people against their own people than we can from people of color. Because I told you before, I lived in Los Angeles many, many years. And I lived around all type of people from around the world. The people of color hated us. They couldn't stand, they wouldn't have anything to do with us. Those from the islands, from Africa. From a matter of fact, the European immigrants were kind to you. It was the black immigrants who didn't want anything to do with us. You notice they don't come in our neighborhoods, but now we're grateful for that now. That people of color and immigrants didn't want to come around us. We're glad now. That way we don't have to worry about ICE running up in our neighborhoods. Except maybe get some of those Arabs, But I don't think they're coming after them. Some of those Koreans. Yeah, get them out. Then we take over those service stations and beauty supply stores and all those other businesses. But look, but they've been fed a lot of propaganda. When you look at this, they've been fed that black people are prone to commit crimes. Let's look at that. They go by the FBI report. But if you read the FBI report closely, do you know what it says? It doesn't say the FBI report. It says that it's gauged by arrests. It didn't say black people were more inclined to commit crime, had a high percentage of crime, but of arrest. And you know what it also says in that report? More black people were likely to be exonerated of that arrest, and more white people were not likely to be exonerated. So it sort of balances itself off. But the reason people will believe all of this, believe any propaganda, is because it's what they want to believe. I've had some white people tell me this, and even President Lyndon Johnson stated this, that white people have an innate need to have someone to look down on. That's why you can go to Black Pride Day, anything we have, anyone can come. But even the Hispanics, when they have their Cinco de Mayo, anyone can come. When I was in LA, I used to go to festivals down in Chinatown and Little Korea. Anyone could come. But when white people have a Pride Day, can't no one come but them because they're walking around with guns and passing out hate literature, giving hate speeches. That's why when we say Black Lives Matter, they don't understand that we're not talking about other people don't matter. We're talking about the people who are being brutalized. That's what we're talking about. If you was being brutalized, we'd be talking about you too. But they don't say all lives matter any other time. But look, they are, that's why when we say black power, they think you want to do something bad to them, because if they said white power, that's what would be on their minds. And then, I know you all ask me, why do I have a lot of white friends? Yeah, I got them. And I talk like this around them, and they talk just like I do, really. And that's what they're doing, trying to keep white people from becoming woke. But they're too late. Because look, The Hispanics said they're coming after us. They've already come after us, after us, physically in the past. Excuse me. The way they're coming after us now, look at all the legislation that's been overturned. It's been things that would affect black people. But you know what happened? It didn't work like they thought. You see, they thought black people was benefiting from affirmative action and DEI. We weren't. Of that 17%, we was getting less than 1% that's known going our way. But because it's very hard to gauge, because who's to say who got hired because of affirmative action or DEI? I knew a DEI when it was whites only. Didn't nobody worry about no DEI or that type of affirmative action. And even look at affirmative action. Asians got more out of it, and people of color, and the biggest beneficiary of affirmative action was white women, out of that 17%. And then the white males, he wasn't satisfied because I tell you, look at that 17%. When you put white women, black people, people of color, Hispanics, well, they go along with people of color, but immigrants, you put all those people together, the white male is now the minority. Who's getting 83%? And he wasn't satisfied with that. He was still getting businesses in his wife and daughters and other white females' name. He just wanted it all. And see, I said that to say this. Lyndon Johnson told about that. He said, if you can make the lowest white man think he's better than person, better than the best black person, you could pick his pockets and he'd never know it. And if you have to give him someone to look down on, he'll empty his pockets for you. And that's what happened with affirmative action. Put a black face on it, the white male walking away with it all. But everyone just thinking it's just black people getting affirmative action. With DEI, white females was getting 78% of that. I think black people was getting like maybe 1% or less of that. We was getting less of just about everything. Believe it or not, black people do have more businesses than Asians. But Asians was getting more out of that. But like I said, it's hard to gauge because who's to say who's being hired out of race? But that's why they canceled all of that. Remember when Trump said that the Latinos are taking black jobs? They were planning on thinking black people was going to all be fired and don't have jobs. It was going to come work those farms for that little bit of money. They want their slaves back. But what happened was, if you notice, even the farmers would say, we thought the blacks was going to come work because they don't have jobs. See the kind of propaganda they've been fed? Black people don't have jobs. The black people actually have a good middle class. And if you notice among black people, there's hardly any crime among working class people. Because people got jobs, let me backtrack that and show you where it's coming from. Okay, according to the FBI report in 2000, it's going to be updated again, should be updated this year, I think. 90% of the crime in black areas was caused by less than 2% of the people between the repeated offenders. Not all of them, but repeated offenders between the ages of 14 and 22. Where at 22, they either went to prison, killed, or got a job, or got some sense. But that shows. But when black people got jobs, when they have jobs, they commit less crime. So it's not about we have it innately in us to commit crime. What it is, it's about economics. But see, the thing with other people is, look at their demographics. See, we have a certain demographics that commit crime. Let's look at their demographics. They commit crime even when they have jobs. They commit crime. Look at the white gangs. Man, gray beard, long gray beard in a gang. He should be at home with his grandkids, bouncing them on his knees, teaching them something, and he's in a gang. Teaching his grandson, a black man that age would be teaching his grandson not to be in a gang. The white guy here, he is in a gang himself. Okay, look at January 6th. Look at the people who were out there. Those weren't unemployed people breaking in the Capitol, busting out windows. Do you think you would see an East St. Louis policeman going out to, or any black policeman going out to Washington, D.C. to try to harm other policemen trying to break into the Capitol? Or they had policemen, firemen, they had state reps out there going, breaking in the Capitol, climbing through windows, talking about killing the vice president and carrying nooses. Do you think you would see Senator Belt or Latoya Greenwood doing some foolishness like that? Well, I don't know who the state rep is now. Oh, it's not. But I'm just talking about the black ones right now. You wouldn't see their black counterparts doing that. Policemen hurting other policemen. One white woman flew in on her private jet to come and join that foolishness. Now, what black woman you know who can afford a private jet gonna come out there and do some mess like that? It wouldn't even be on their minds. Working class black people commit less crimes. I'm not gonna say you're not gonna have any. You can always have some. That's why I say 90%, and 10% were older than that category, but you're not going to be crime free. Why should we be perfect? No one else is perfect. We're not going to be perfect, but our crime rate is not as bad as they think it is, or it's not as high as they think it is, and much of it is arrest. You say, well, why are there more black people in prison? Well, if you look at back in the late right after slavery and in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there were more black people in prison then. Black people back then rarely commit crime because they had so many other people on their tails. There were more of them in prison then because they were sent to prison back then many times for things they didn't do. Talking back to a white man. White man hit them, they fight back, they go to prison. And then at that time, black people weren't allowed to testify in court. So they couldn't even testify on their own behalf. If they was accused of something, there was nothing they could say. So there was more black people in prison then. Now, don't get me wrong, many of these in prison now need to be in there. But the problem is, many of the whites who need to be in prison is not in there. Many of the black people go to prison for things that white people get probation, community service, or get let out for, or light prison sentence. See, one thing they say, well, I remember when the police, East St. Louis police used to jump on folks. They were actually doing some of you a favor. You know why? You know what they were doing? It was either whoop your butt or you get 5 years in prison. A lot of those black policemen back then would kick your butt to keep you out of prison. And we thought they were doing, well, I know they were kicking your butt. You think they were doing you wrong. They'll take you somewhere and beat your butt. You go home, but you didn't go to prison. I don't know. I think I'd rather take a good butt whooping than go to prison for 5-10 years. But still, a lot of times, so our people don't have such a bad record as people have been led to think. There's still many white people who feel, not white people, the people of color feel that way also, that black people don't work. Why do they think that? Because they know the system was set up against us. But we made it in spite of the odds. The majority of black people who work are middle class or above. The majority. White people don't make that much more money than we do. The difference is they can get lines. They could always get lines of credit that we couldn't get. I remember years ago they had a when the Jews had all the businesses here, but at least they lived in the city, in the black areas. They have a shop and they have an apartment above or behind the shop. Oh, here are these gnats. Every time I cut these lights off and all I have is the studio lights on, they come after it. I don't see them all day. I don't see them until I cut these lights on. But the um, the Jews would give black people credit, usually with no interest. They would have furniture stores and grocery stores. But black people couldn't get loans to fix up their home. Because see, they would then they give you a car loan because they know they could repossess that car. But you didn't get a home loan to fix up your home. And well, a loan to fix up your home because they didn't want your house anyway. But what would happen is black people would have a house that didn't look so well, but when you walked inside, it like a palace because they was able to get credit to get furniture, and they drove a nice car that really didn't fit the house that they were living in, and that was common in the black areas. They they got loan. They had nice things according to what they could get a loan for, a car, furniture, and they ate good because the Jews would let them get food on credit. I know because my family did it before. Go down to the store, get food on credit. And so what happened, many of the black people like when their boss came over, or someone from the job, white person from the job, they had to run and take stuff and cover the furniture up. Don't let them see that nice furniture, 'cause in the past, they would come over and say, oh, it really look nice in here. Uh, how do you all live this good off that little money I pay you? Next thing you know, you were looking for another job. They thought you was stealing because your house looked so nice inside. Then, many of the black people who had a nice car, they parked away from the job or had another old raggedy car they drove to work. If you drove up in that new car and they saw it, you were looking for another job. Because they think you still, how they live that good off that money I'm paying them. Because they knew you couldn't get laid. You were making pretty good money. They just knew, they just weren't expecting you to get those loans. So we prosper as what we can prosper at. But the thing that, getting back to what I was saying, when they thought when they canceled DEI, affirmative action, and other programs, that black people was going to lose their jobs. But they didn't realize that many of these companies were just hiring black people because they was hiring them. They weren't hiring them because they were black. They were hiring an employee. But they're still counting on all white people to follow in that racist mode. Excuse me. But many white people have overcame that foolishness. Because if you go to the average black family reunion, don't you see white people there? You go to the average white family reunion, you see black people there. They still counting on that 1940s, 1950s mindset, and think that the white people only hired black people because of DEI and affirmative action. That's the way that Trump regime is thinking. They're just so how far out of touch they are. But it didn't happen. Now they're talking about bringing back farm workers because they don't see black folks out there. Not going out there, let that stuff rot. Let them white folks lose their farm. I'll tell you why. I told you the other night, the way they threw black farmers under the bus, they got those COVID on. And Joe Biden, he's part of the blame on this too. Now, I'm for Biden because I don't expect him to do everything I like. As for Obama, no president is going to do everything you like. That's why Trump people, I don't get them. Everything he do is right. I love Trump. Look, I voted for Obama. I didn't love Obama. I didn't love Hillary. I didn't love Biden. I didn't love Kamala, and I voted for all four of them. But I didn't love them. They love Trump. But look, back to what I was saying. They about the farms. The white farmers got the loans, and this was under Biden. The black farmers didn't. So the black farmers sued and won. The white farmers countersued and said they wanted some of the black farmers' money. Now what kind of sense that make? The black farmers didn't get any of their money. So you know what they did? They just canceled the suit. I never heard anything like that before. Someone sued someone, they won. When they get ready to get the money, someone else sued and say, well, I want some of that money too. So they cancel your suit? I never heard of anything like that before. So the black farmers got nothing. But they're not suffering like the white farmers because they never got subsidies like the white farmers did. They didn't depend on immigrants to do their work. They sell their crops to the local market. So they're doing just fine now. I hope they have enough money for when those white farmers lose their farm that they can buy their farm. The white farmers you can lose, I told you the other night, they can lose their house, their crops, their land, their dog, everything. I hope you lose it all. That's how I feel. You're going to stop someone else from getting their money out of spite. But still, it's just the idea, the propaganda that they've been fed. People still wondering why black people are not marching and protesting. It's enough for you out there already. See, everyone wants us to join in everything that happens, but they didn't join in for us. See, like I said, when it comes to things like police brutality or something like that, yeah, you joined in on that. But where was you was at? What was everyone else at when they was sicking the dog on us? When we was fighting for our very existence? Our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Where were you at then? There was some that came. There was some excuse me, it's a little gas. There was Jews who came. There was some Catholics who came. It was mostly black people getting bit by the dogs, water hose, and all they wanted to do was march to the courthouse, kneel down and pray. Now was that a violent protest or violence inflicted on them? Or they wanted to march to the courthouse to register to vote. Now what was violent about that? But they had dogs and water hoses on them. There haven't been any violent Black Lives Matter protests. You know what it was? We never protest violently. There are some people who come and loot. And this is more propaganda you can feel like there have been violent protests. There are people who may come and loot, but it's not the protesters. They have nothing to do with that. Those are not people leaving the protest line to go and loot, break windows out, commit violence. There was other people doing it. That had nothing to do with the protest. A matter of fact, I was there in Ferguson filming. The police wouldn't stop the looters. They wouldn't do anything. They just held their ground. But you know who stopped the looters? The protesters. They would leave the line and tell them, no, we're not having this. Because protesters don't like looters and people who come there want to cause all type of violence because it takes away from what they're trying to do. So they don't like it. They are as much against looting as anyone else, probably, but more, because it's ruining their cause. It's taking away from the protest and putting people's mind on the about the looting and the property damage that they're doing. So there wasn't any violent protest. There was some violence, but not with the protests. That's another propaganda you all been fed. But you've been fed. And I'll tell you why you've been fed all these propagandas about black people, because it's what you wanted to believe. See, people gauge you. They see what type of person you are. They know the type of stuff you're going to believe and not believe. Because one thing they do, and black people, we got to learn from this. These white folks don't do things that they haven't studied upon. When they plan, they have a 20-year plan. And we haven't even planned for tomorrow. So we can't just, in our cities, I'm going to get back to this subject, but I want to say this while I'm thinking about it. I do go in a lot of directions, but because it's just me, when I start having my guests come on, I can stay more grounded in one subject. But when you can't run a city just doing one project at a time, you have to develop an area. You have to do urban planning, not just spend $40-50 million on one project, and the rest of the city still the same way. Now you have to do some planning, more planning in the area. But I'm not talking about build some $20,000-$50,000 homes that can't anyone around here afford. You gotta come down on that price. Who's gonna pay $350,000 for a home? I'm talking about my town, not East St. Louis. You all know what I'm talking about. The other people, I'll get back to the national and world issues in a minute. But why would someone spend $350,000 on a home in East St. Louis? You have no stores around, no businesses around. When you can go to O'Fallon or Fairview Heights, pay $350,000 for a home or less. And you have stores and businesses all around. You got a train coming down the track at night blowing his horn near that area. You have to think before you do this stuff. We used to have people coming to town. I'm going to invest $750 million in a city that's losing residents. I used to tell people they're lying. Then we tell people they need, you can invest in it. You got the money. What you asking for our money for? Go ahead and do it. They never give us credit for the good things. I'm gonna tell you something about the police and why they got tasers in this area. You know how why other police departments got tasers? Do you know the first police department in this area to get tasers? The East St. Louis Police Department. And I tell you, I remember this story well. I'm talking about my town now, so I'll get back to the others. I remember reading in the paper where another department had a guy, they was chasing him, then they ended up shooting him and killing him. A similar thing happened about a month later with the East St. Louis Police Department. And they talked about how they boxed him in, followed it by the book. He got out the car, and this guy was a probation officer who was using drugs. He got out the car, and they tased him. Didn't kill him, they tased him. About a week later, you read in the paper where all the other departments are getting tasers. They're going to get tasers. Now, where do you think they got that idea from? But they didn't give the East St. Louis Police Department credit. Look at the violent people the East St. Louis Police Department deal with. See, they listen and learn. Maybe other departments can learn. How many people do they have to kill? Most of them never even pull their guns. Because when you in a city and you know the people, you're not too quick to want to hurt and kill them. Or they might have to kick your butt sometime, and sometimes that keeps you out of jail. But they're not going to kick your butt unless you need it. Because here, if the police stop you, just shut up and give them your license, because they're not going to bother you unless they have to. I seen people, well, you stop me for, you know why they, most of the time, come on, when they stop you, you know why they stop me. Anytime a policeman stopped me, I knew why they stopped me. Except one time, I have a tail light out or something. I cooperate with them and I go on about my business. But most of the time they say, I know why they stop me. They know, I know, you know the ones who do all that. What you stop me for? You ain't got no insurance. That's why you put up a big front. Something's wrong with you. And you're trying not to get to that. But go ahead and cooperate because look, you don't. Then, especially getting out of East St. Louis back to the broader area, national and world area. Stop this stuff with these white cops about my rights and all that. But these white cops, you don't have the rights these other people have. Give them your stuff, go on about your business. If you don't have your insurance and proper registration, you just have to take what comes your way. Because you knew you didn't have it. But stop trying to give these cops a hard time. I know a lot of times they may come at you wrong, but you're not gonna win in that situation. I'm not trying to tell you to be tough. I'm trying to save some of your lives. You're not gonna win in that situation. Cause all those people standing around you, talking all that crap, urging you on, they're not gonna do nothing to those cops. They're not gonna do a thing. Probably video, put it up to get some likes, while you sitting up in jail with your head all swollen. But back to the subject. I told you I kind of jump around some because I say things what I'm thinking about. I haven't had any guests lately. I got some guests lined up, and I'm getting my call ready. They don't have to be in the studio. They can come on, split screen with me. That'll be coming soon. But look, um, I say this about the propaganda because a lot of white people have came out of that propaganda. They know better. I see YouTube sites of white people actually sounding like black people. They know what's going on. And that's what they're trying to do with this anti-woke campaign. See how stupid that sounds? Anti-woke. Who wants someone not to be woke? If you know that only came up in the last few years, and that was because Ron DeSantis was joining in Florida because he was trying to out-Trump, thinking they was going to get him elected president. He didn't even make it to the first part of the primary. They didn't want him. And you notice he backed down on some of that Trump rhetoric. But they've been fed propaganda about black people that we're lazy, but they know we work better than they do. And see, I worked with white guys, and I listened to them talk. And they talk about the things that they did. And I thought they were lying because I know if a black guy did that, he'd be in jail. I found out they was telling the truth. And I would think to myself, why come they're not in prison? The stuff that they did, that they said they did, and it was true. But we were so lazy. Now, when I tell you this, we didn't become lazy until we stopped working for free. And when they called us a lazy slave, it's because he didn't work 16 hours and barely got a break. So that made him lazy. We're some of the hardest working people. Some of our people, we'll look at some of our people who get on the job and mess up. I know we do, but we're not perfect. But then you got a lot of our people get on the job and work hard. We're not perfect. People always expect us to be perfect, and we got to cross every T and dot every I. We're judged by the worst of us. If one black person come on the job and mess up, all these black folks do is come on the job and mess up. You know that's not true. And I got some people who hit me on Messenger. Why am I always talking about race? Because I want to. When you are people who are under attack because of your race, why not? We're under attack right now. It's just the attack is not affecting us. They done did everything else to us. And what they're doing now is not even affecting us. We're the only people not crying right now. Latinos are crying, people of color are crying, even whites, poor whites, they're crying. How do y'all like it being the new N-words? for a while. It may not last, but it's going right now. But the thing about it, everybody's crying but us. Everyone's been affected but us. And it's about time we got a break. We finally got a break, and y'all think we gonna get out there and do that mess with y'all? We've had enough of that. Because I heard you out there talking. You're talking about when they put them on mic at those marches, those No King marches, and and when they was doing all the other marches, you know what they would do is they'll mention all of the disenfranchised groups. They would mention white women. No, they didn't say white women. They said women, people of color, immigrants, the homosexuals, but they never mentioned black people. And you think we're going to come out there with you and you're not even thinking about us? You just want our bodies. That's what you want. But you're not getting it. There's going to be some come out there, and if they do, you know, that's their prerogative. I have nothing to say against them. If that's what they want to do, go ahead. I can't tell other people what to do. I can suggest we don't go out there, but you know, you have to do what everyone has to do what they feel they must do. Because I can't tell anyone else what to do. I want to take a break and let's show you all. We have a Juneteenth pageant coming up next week, and I told them I would run this for them because I'm really on the board of the company that's having it, and we like put you to the 10. So I'm going to run this. It's about a minute long. I want you to see it because see, we go to other people's events, Cinco de Mayo. We have more black people out there than we do at Juneteenth. We have to celebrate ourselves more than we celebrate others because they're not going to do it for us. So, you know, stay with me for a while. I'm going to run this commercial real quick, and you know, so you can back Juneteenth like we do everything else.
Let's walk. I don't talk, I move in grace. Let them guess what's on my plate. Watch my tone, I fix my pace. I don't rush, I navigate. Used to argue, now I glide. Let my silence kill the pride. If it don't feed peace inside, then it don't deserve my time. Fan my walk like a queen. I dress like a spell. My presence a sermon. My spirit don't yell. Fan I speak with my bill. I teach with my rest. My crown ain't for cloud. My life is the flex. I don't battle, I design. Made a brand out of my mind. Planet systems took my time. Build a kingdom from their grind. Cut the noise, protect my zone.
Okay, this is the flyer. It shows a bigger here, telling you about the celebration, and that's the Cash App, the code there. You can scan it to give to the Juneteenth pageant. Now the Juneteenth day has passed, but they're getting ready for the Queen's pageant. Now we need to get a King's pageant going too. Quit leaving black men out of everything. But that's the pageant to select the next queen, the Illinois queen, and then she will compete in the national pageant later. And this is the Cash App for the Juneteenth committee. You know, if anyone want to scan it, I'll put it back up later. I'll put a corner bug up with it on there, so we can help out Juneteenth. So try to remember Juneteenth, the Juneteenth pageant, so we can help them out. Oh, did I hit something wrong? You know how it is with these when you're the host, the technician, all of it. That's the way it's done nowadays. I put that corner bug up there. That's the Juneteenth. You want to give them some money? So let me make that a little smaller. Hold on a second. I'll make that a little smaller. Yeah, that's too big. It's in my way. Yeah. If you want to donate to the Juneteenth committee, that's why I'm not gonna even put mine up tonight. I want you to help out the Juneteenth committee. They're gonna have this is one day. This is the flyer there also. No, help those young ladies become. I'm gonna tell you now. We're gonna have to. Fellas gonna have to stop backing you all. You're not gonna have a. They used to have a Juneteenth king. We can't keep eliminating black males out of everything. So we don't even exist anymore. But getting back to our subject, like I said, that's the Juneteenth barcode that you can scan it and donate to the committee if you choose to do so. But yeah, we're gonna have to also think of some strategies while we're in a mode where we're in a relaxed mode. I'd say we don't have nobody hot on our trail right now, but they're coming. Oh, they're coming because they're gonna figure out what they're doing so far isn't working and is not affecting us so much. But they're coming. They're gonna try to think of a new strategy, and so we're grateful that that all the immigrants, the Africans and people from the islands and the black people from South America or any of the immigrants. Thank you. I want to thank you on behalf of the black community for not liking us and staying out of our neighborhoods. Now we don't have any masked men with unmarked vans coming up in our neighborhood. If they do, we're going to deal with them. Because you know the history of white men in masks coming around black people. They can try that if they want to. I don't care if you're ICE. I'm going to deal with you. Don't come up in here because it's illegal for ICE to bother U.S. citizens. But don't know, our laws have changed and we don't really have any laws anymore. We don't really have any. We don't have a constitution anymore. But I'm not watching no men in masks come up in the black areas, pull somebody in a van, and take them somewhere. I'm not going to watch it. But we got to draw the line somewhere. Because they have no business coming here, bothering us. We don't have any immigrants in our neighborhood, except maybe some of the people running the stores. The service stations, they can come get them and maybe they can become black again. Maybe get those Koreans out and the black people can have those nail shops and beauty supply shops. Because I'm for the progression of my people just like everyone else is for theirs. I talk about my people because my people are being disenfranchised. We wouldn't be bringing up our race all the time if it wasn't for a reason. You give us a reason to do it. I told you before I was asked, do your white friends talk about race like you do? They don't have to, like I do. They say you're always playing the race card. Stop putting it in the deck. Don't white people control the deck. They control what goes on in this society. So if you the dealer and you control the deck, if the race card is being played, it's because you the one who will keep putting it in the deck. Cause you can talk about race when you get ready. Just look at when these black go to social media. They're all over our social media, talking against the same suspects and all that. But yeah, except when it's a good post, they stay off of it. Because many of those fight posts, they're not even real. If you notice, the algorithm is geared towards white people because they like watching it. It's propaganda. Many of it's AI and fake. How in the world you punch somebody 30 times in the face? Their face don't swell up. There's never any blood. They never get a black eye. You never see, you notice out of all those fights you see, when do you never see an injury? Now who's doing all that fighting and no one's getting injured? I've never seen those type of fights. I've been around black people all my life. I haven't seen all that. And I'm not no spring chicken. And I've never seen all that fighting like that. I remember when my family, I was a kid, I must have been about 5 years old, my family moved on Cleveland Avenue in East St. Louis. I think that same year I started the first grade. Or maybe a year later. But you know what? We moved there, I think I was 5 years old. We didn't even put a lock on our front door until I was 11. We didn't even lock our front door. But people don't tell you about that kind of stuff. They don't tell you about that. They tell you all the bad, including us. We tell all the bad stuff about ourselves. Some of us talk like white supremacists. We fed to the propaganda also because, see, the same propaganda white people were fed about us, we were fed also. We're in this society. We hear the same ideological foolishness that they hear. I mean, privately, we talk about it. We say the same thing the white supremacists say. All these old N-words, this, black people, this, man. We're the only people who make stereotypes about ourselves. White people haven't made any new stereotypes about us. They're still using the same old ones. All the new stereotypes about black people, we made them ourselves. Who does that? What other people you know does that? You think the Jews make stereotypes about themselves? You can say something about them that's true. And they just about want to get you fired off your job. No one else does that but us. Putting up all those places. Black people did, well, name some black people. What other race does that? Say stuff to belittle themselves. We're the only ones who do that. How can other people be fair with us? How can other people like us when we're not fair with ourselves and like ourselves, but we're fair with them and like them? So as a people, black people are some of the most kindest people on earth. As a people, as individuals, we cut up. But as a people, we don't harm anyone. But on the other hand, as a people, as individuals, white people are kind, they're nice, some of the nicest people you can meet. Some of the best friends you can have, individual. I'm sorry I said as a people, I meant individually. Individually, they're kind, they're nice, make very good friends. Very good friends. But as a people, they're the most diabolical people on earth. You see, other nations, other race of people ruled the earth before white people. But what they did, they did it by white people took it international though. When they had wars or they took over people, it was because of nationality and ethnicity. The Caucasian race is the first race who start discriminating because of race. Others did with ethnicity and nationality. That's why when they say Africans sold Africans, sold their own people. No, they didn't. They sold people of different nationalities and race. Some of their enemies. And most of those that was out in the bush who didn't live in the cities. Cause it's not true what they say. In Africa, they had cities. It wasn't all jungle and people walking around with bones in their nose, cooking people over open fire. That's just more propaganda. But see, what happened was, that's who they sold. It's just like I said before, when Hitler invaded Germany. I'm sorry. What am I saying? I must be getting sleepy again. When Hitler invaded Europe, Europe is white. They didn't say he went and invaded and killed his people because they knew that his people was German. But with black people, they want to say that Africans sold their own people. They didn't. They sold their enemies and they sold people they were warring with and people who were not. The Nigerians didn't consider the Ethiopians their people. But then Ethiopia, there weren't any Ethiopian slaves. Matter of fact, Ethiopia was never colonized. It's one African nation that was never colonized. I don't know, maybe they didn't have oil or anything to offer. But they were never colonized. Excuse me. But see, here in the United States, we talk that way because all we know is race. The black people here, all we know is race. We don't know ethnicity because we don't know what nationality we came from in Africa, what ethnicity what ethnic group we came from. We don't know that. So all we know is race. That's why I remember when Biden ran for president, he said that Latinos have more diversity than black people. It's not that they have more diversity. They're divided by nationality and ethnicity. We're not. That's why when we would see white people doing things to other white people, why are they doing it to them? They're white too. Remember the Jews when Whoopi Goldberg, she stated Hitler didn't do the things he did to the Jews because they were white. He did it because they were Jews. Do you know she had to beg forgiveness or lose her job? And her statement was true. It was true. But that's all we know is race. We don't really know ethnicity. That's why when you see even the black people come from other places, they'd rather be with the people of their ethnic group or nationality and not with us. But we thank you for that now. The Africans come here, arrogant with us. They rather go try to find other people of their ethnic group. They don't want to be around us. Well, I don't want to be around the Africans because they need to learn how to put on some deodorant. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You been around some? You know what I'm talking about. But look, the reason I wanted to talk about the propaganda that white people been fed because a lot of them were coming out of it, and that's that anti-woke program. They were trying to stop it because a lot of white people didn't know about Tulsa. And there were many Tulsas, where every time black people made economic progress, it was wiped out, and the black people killed. I used to remember when I would see pictures of lynchings. The men, they would strip their clothes off, but the women, they would leave their clothes on. And when you look at the clothes that they were wearing, the clothes that they had of that day, they were well-dressed women. And you know what I found out? Many of those people, black men and women they were lynching, were actually business people who had the audacity to challenge white people economically. See, people always thought people who were lynched with some black person went out and commit a crime against a white person. No, they were business people who were lynched. Many white people started talking about that. Many of them found out that back in even out west, black people had their own little cowboy towns. Those were burnt to the ground. Because see, it was never meant for us to develop an economy. It was meant for us to keep working those same jobs we had as slaves and get a little bit of money for it. That's why they thought we were coming back to the farms. That's the reason I brought this up. So they thought we was coming back to the farms. It was always meant for us to have. So the jobs those immigrants get, it was always meant for us to always have those jobs. We left them. And the immigrants got them with the Latinos. And we're not going back to them. You wait on it. You're gonna have some barren land. So and you know, when I mentioned Biden, another thing Biden did I didn't like. When they were talking about reparations, he said if there's gonna be any reparations, the Indians have to be included. For what? I didn't know nothing about they was reparations for slavery. They already settled up. They're the one chose to take that old barren land you all gave them. They can't grow nothing on, they only have casinos on it. They chose that, we didn't. Every time, you notice, every time it's time for black folks to get something, they want to include other people in it, but we weren't included in theirs. Now, we can't let people take advantage of us like that. And if any of you all want to leave this country and relocate, if a person tell you go back to Africa, you can tell them to go back to Europe. But you say, okay, give me the money. I need about $1 million. Start your GoFundMe. I need $1 million to relocate. You don't have to be Africa. It can be other nations, other continents. If they give us reparations, $1 million apiece. Whoever want to leave here, put your money where your mouth is. A lot of nations will accept us. We're big for us to come with a bunch of people with $1 million. They say many African nations asking us to come back. Well, we can't go back. We never been there. You know what I'm talking about. But I don't hear them saying it. Whenever they needed expertise in certain things, they knew that there was African Americans who were skilled in those things. Did they send for any of us? Have any of those African nations ever asked for skilled black people to come and help? No. They went to Europe, the people who were colonizing them. Asia. They didn't ask any of us to come and help. Because see, they've been fed propaganda against us. But the difference with us is we were fed propaganda against them, but we didn't go against them. That's why African American, we got some, as a people, we're some good people. Individually, we're a booger bar. But as a people, we're good people. We've been fed propaganda against them, but we didn't go against them. We don't go against anyone as a people. So that's on them. Now they're running the colonies out of their nations now, like Burkina Faso and Abraham Traore. They're running them out now, nationalizing their gold and all, but they need to be careful because in the past, when nations nationalized their stuff and ran the colonial powers out, they tried to kill their leaders. Well, they tried to kill Traore. I think the 20th time they tried to kill him. His people are protecting him, and he's what he's doing is spreading to other African nations. They ran the Americans out, they ran the French out, took their bases back. But see, Iran had a democratically elected government. Did you know that? But he was tired of the United States and Britain, the British Petroleum, the BP stations, they were taking all of their oil. So he nationalized the oil. They invaded the country, threw him in jail where he stayed till the day he died, replaced him with the Shah. The Shah of Iran, remember him? He was a dictator. Now, they went everywhere else in the world fighting, shoving democracy down people's throat. But in the African nations and nations like Iran, they were installing dictators. Bunch of hypocrites. So what happened in Iran, the people got tired, and they overthrew the Shah. They took hostages. That's where the Iranian hostage crisis came from. Okay, the Shah, I told you this the other night, but I want to say this again, I'm tying it into something. The Shah ordered $150 billion worth of military equipment from the United States. It was from Iranian money. It was paid. When he was overthrown, the United States didn't give it back. They said the only way, under Reagan, they said the only way Iran get the money back is if they sign a nuclear deal with the United States, a nuclear weapons deal. Well, with Barack Obama, they signed a nuclear weapons deal. It was criticized. They said he gave them $150 billion in cash for no reason. No, that was their money. It was said if you sign a nuclear deal, you get your money back. By them not having relations with the United States, they didn't have a central bank to send it to, so they had to give it to them in cash. So when Trump and everyone else was criticizing Obama for giving them their money, he's not like Trump. He's not going to make you promises and then go back on it. Trump comes in, throw the deal out. Now that's why you have what you have now with Israel and Iran. Now when you come in, you don't throw the deal out. You renegotiate it. At least you got something in place until you renegotiate. Trump does things backwards. If you want to you don't impose tariffs and then try to talk to people. You know, go in and negotiate with people first, and if necessary, apply tariffs. Besides, tariffs is outdated. It doesn't work in today's economy. See, Trump, he said he wanted to take this back to the late 1890s economy, where black people worked in the fields and everything, and when tariffs work. He wanted to bring back manufacturing here. But that's ridiculous. Manufacturing is not part of an advanced economy. Not just working a lot of manufacturing. He wanted to bring some low-cost manufacturing jobs from China so black people can work. They can't get rid of it, so they want us on those low-end jobs. If you notice, when the United States was building this economy, what did they do? A lot of manufacturing. But as the economy advanced, it cuts off the manufacturing. Goes more into service and what you have now. When Japan was advancing its economy, remember everything was made in Japan, like everything made in China now. People within Japan gonna take it over. They're making everything. An up and coming economy deals in more is more of a manufacturing economy. China is an up and coming economy, and it's gonna level off. That's why it deals more in a lot of manufacturing now. The United States is not a it's a 21st century economy. So is Japan. That's why they're not doing a lot of manufacturing now. Okay, they say China They're going to catch up with the United States. They never can. Trump just by handing it over, the keys to them. But you know why they can't catch up? China has a GNP, their economy is half of that of the United States. It's going to level off. They'll never catch up with the United States unless Trump helped them to. It's like he's on his way to doing, but they still won't catch up. You know why? Let's say I make $100,000 a year. You make $50,000 a year, half of what I make. We're not going to count the adults, but let's say I got one child. You got 8 children. You see, China has 8 to 9 more people in population than the United States. So if I make $100,000 a year and you make half of what I make, how are you catching up to me? How will you ever catch up to me in income? Even if you equaled my income, I still got one child. You got 8, maybe 9 children. How are you equal to me? With that many people in the house. I didn't count the adults. I'm just making an illustration. Illustrations aren't perfect. But to give you an idea of what a person is. Giving you a message. If I got to feed 9 people, and you have to feed 1, and you make half the money I make, or I have to support 9 people, you 8, maybe 9, and you have to support 1, but half the money. How can you catch up? But I tell you why did that kind of thinking started. And this is a Caucasian told me this. He said the white man has a need to be number one, but no one can, even his radar of catching up to him, or he feel that he's failed. Just by China having a share of the market, they feel the United States has failed. Even though there's no way for China to catch up. There's no way. Too many people. So there's no way. But they'll make you think that they are. China is laughing at the United States. Why would you want to bring these manufacturing jobs back to the United States? It doesn't make sense. They tell you that China military is catching up to the United States. It's not. The chips has old chips because they don't know how to integrate them into it. If China was so powerful, right now would be the time to take Taiwan, while the United States is in disarray. Russia. The United States has sanctions on them, ruining their economy. Has had it since Russia went into Afghanistan. The same thing the United States ended up doing. But they put sanctions on Russia for that. If Russia was so powerful, I'd say, look, these sanctions is affecting our national security. We consider it an act of war. Get ready for war. China and Russia let the United States go around the world doing whatever they want to do. They'll talk tough, but they know there's nothing that they can do. But here in the United States, it'll make you think that those nations are big and bad. The United States is in a class by itself. problem. Trump is allowing them to catch up. The United States has lost all its friends, which I don't care. I'm not even worried about no superpower mess. They can lose their status for all I care. As a matter of fact, the French live better. The British live better since they stopped trying to dominate the world. They actually live better. The quality of life is better. But you know this nation that try to dominate the world, the people don't do very well. United States, the richest nation in the world, got people without food, poor people, people without health care. Now they're taking much of that away. When in many other nations, they don't even have to pay for health care. It's universal health care. And who cares if you get the number one health care system in the world and another person may have the 10th or the 20th? There's not much difference in them. Well, I'd rather go to the 20th healthcare system in the world that I can access than the number one that I can access, because there's not much difference in them. And this is health care, not health services. Because if you can't access those services, what difference does it make if you're in the nation that has the number one health care system? But that don't mean it's the number one in services. Because if it was number one in services, there wouldn't be a lot of people going without health care and couldn't get health care unless they had the money to pay for it. It would be free like it is in other parts of the world. I hope you all can hear me just as well. That's why it took me a while to come on. I had to change my mic. My favorite mic wasn't acting up. Wasn't acting well, so I had to change. But yeah, I wanted to come on about the propaganda that's being fed, but right now it's not working. It's not working against us. It's not hurting us as bad as they thought it would. We're thriving, we've endured all of this, and we've come too far to turn back now, or to let ourselves just go by the wayside. We've come too far for that, and we can't let them just push us around and let no one else push us around. Or they're crying for us. Have you seen on social media, Latinos, black people, we need you, where you was at, where you at? I tell you where we was at on November the 5th. We was voting to keep this guy out of office, and you was voting to put him in. That's where we was at on November 5th. We're the same place we were at when you was running around here thinking you was honorary white folks, calling us the N-word too. We're in those same places where we was at then. When you was laughing at us out in the street, marching, and I say us, I'm talking about black people, I say I don't march. But when you was laughing at us, we're in the same place we was then, We haven't went anywhere, and that's where we're going to stay. Most of us, some may come out there and help you. Keep talking that brothers and sisters stuff. This one time we black people got to put our compassion on hold, just like everyone did for us. So we need you. You never needed us before. Remember back in the 80s, when Reagan first came in? Well, you all may not know about this, but I was around Latinos out in Los Angeles. And many of the black people, when they try to start trouble with us, say, don't worry, pretty soon y'all going to be the new N-words. And still, recently here, see, in Los Angeles, they show videos and pictures of Latinos spitting on the black cops, calling them the N-word. I know where those cops was at, out there when you spitting on them, those black cops. And they should have knocked you out. And that's one time I'm public police brutality. Well, that wouldn't have been brutality. You spit on them, that's assaulting a person. When you spit on them, that's assault. Then you assault a police officer. They ain't gonna call them the N-word also. Anytime a Hispanic got angry with a black person, they yelled out the N-word too. But what you people use, it ain't none of your business what we use. Talking about what you use. See, anytime we talk about our people, well, some of you do this, some of you do. If you notice, black people have to be perfect, or we failed. If we don't do everything perfect. They say that black people owned slaves. How many? Very, very few, if any. Now, I said this before, but I'm going to say it again. How many? There's no people on earth who suffered an atrocity, genocide, or anything where some of their people didn't participate and wasn't complicit and wasn't a collaborator. Why should black people be any different? Why would we be any different? They do that to make excuses for slavery and the way we've been treated in this nation. I'm going to say this again. I know I said this 3 or 4 times before. We have to keep saying it because we got some stuff coming our way. And people going to bring all type of stuff to you. During the Holocaust, during World War II, there was Jews who was in the Nazi Party. There were between 280 to 300,000 known Jews in the Nazi army. They also helped to kill and in the genocide of their people. But when people mention the Holocaust, I don't hear them saying, well, there were Jews who helped in the Holocaust. There were Jews who killed Jews. There were Jews who were Nazis. But they doing this only with black people. And it's black people who says this too. Matter of fact, I've heard black people say it more than anyone else. Well, there was black people on slave. There were black people killed their own people, sold their own people. But like I said, we were brought up in the same ideology that the white supremacists were. And see, they can say whatever they want to about us. See, I was accused of being anti-Semitic. I'm not, but if I want to be, I'd be. I can be anti. But see, Jews be anti-black. They can be anti-black. They can be Palestinian. They can be anti-anyone. But can't anyone be anti them? People not. See, that you need to grow up because when people criticize something you do, you wouldn't say they hate you. They hate what you're doing. So start with that. Grow up. You babies grow up. Quit to soon as somebody say something about something you're doing. Oh, you're anti-Semitic. The Arabs are Semites. So the Jews are anti them. So the Jews anti-Semitic. Jews only yell anti-Semitic when it comes to white people. To black people, if you really want to know. I told you all this story before. I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna give it a go. Okay, in in the do you remember Mel Gibson? You know, I'm first up with Louis Farrakhan and Jesse Jackson. Remember when they said things against the Jews? They still been ostracized to this day. No forgiveness. Remember Mel Gibson, the actor who played with Danny Glover, and he did the movie Passion of the Christ. He is a known Jew hater. Remember how the Jews was sent in the ovens to be gassed in Germany at Auschwitz? Mel Gibson was known for going around Hollywood when he found out a person was a Jew. He'd ask them, "Are you an urban dodger?" Like they dodged the ovens. He said he often told he made the movie Passion of the Christ to show how the Jews killed Jesus. Jews said nothing. They have him on video, body cam, where a police officer stopped him for DUI in Los Angeles. He found out the police officer was a Jew. He said, "Oh, I see. You're an effing Jew. Jews are responsible for all the modern wars." And he started cursing the man just talking about Jews. You know what the Jewish Defense League said and the Anti-Defamation League said? "Oh, we know Mel didn't mean it." Could you imagine a black person saying anything similar? The weak stuff black folks have said, look how they were punished. Except Dave Chappelle, he stood up. And they left him alone. The others folded too quick. Now, Reverend Jim Jeffries, he's known for saying all Jews are going to hell. Do you hear the Jews saying anything about him? As a matter of fact, when they opened the new embassy in Jerusalem a few years ago, about 2-3 years ago, no, that was when Trump was president. When they opened the embassy in Jerusalem, Reverend Jim Jeffrey, who says all Jews are going to hell, he gave the opening prayer in Jerusalem. The Jewish rabbi who always says all Africans are animals, he gave the closing prayer. So you see, it's not about who says it, who makes comments. It's not about what they say, it's who's saying it. Because it appears only black people can be anti-Semitic in the Jews' eyesight. Just look around, you see people saying all type of things about Jews. Nothing. Let a black person say it. They have to get on their knees and beg for the job. But let them fire you. They still have to under their contract. And you just be at home still enjoying those millions. Because I'm not beholden to anyone. I say whatever I want to. That's why I could be doing a lot of things for a lot of different other people, organizations. I choose not to do it. Because first of all, I'm not working no 4 and 5 jobs, killing myself. I do one thing, and that's broadcasting and producing. Now, I could be doing a whole lot of other things, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to put all that stress on myself. People come to me with a lot of propositions. lucrative proposition, but should have came to me 30 years ago. 'Cause right now, I'm not putting no stress on. I didn't put no stress on myself then, so I know I'm not gonna do it now. Many people chase money so much and put too much stress on themselves, trying to work 4 and 5 jobs. Not to me. Well, one job, go home. That's it. Don't let people put all this stress. When people come to me, certain things I do, I can help you make some money at that. If I want to make some money, I wouldn't need your help. I'd be doing it right now. That's why you got to find something that's lucrative enough where you don't have to kill yourself trying to run from job to job. Stop trying to spend too much money. Buy what you can afford. And you won't have to do that. It's just that some people can afford more than others. If they can, let them drive their Mercedes, and you drive your Ford. Both of you driving nice cars. Your Ford gonna get you around you like that Mercedes did. Don't let people talk you into stressing yourself out. But back to the subject. I know I can get off a lot. I might get out of here soon. That Cash App code you see up, that's for the Juneteenth committee. I'm about to give me a boy like that. I got it. I just haven't really put it up anywhere. Just gave me an idea. Now, I'm going to soon start broadcasting on the cable channels again. I stopped WSL 984 and WSL 993 because people don't really watch cable anymore. And it was a money drain. You lose more money than you put out, and I ran it out of my pocket for about 10 years. And it just wasn't making any more money. So I had to let it go. Well, I didn't let it go. I still got it. If I put something on, it'll broadcast right now. So I have the header right here. So I think I'm going to start back and still should have my Roku channel any day now, really. And then we'll start broadcasting on Roku. But I just want to come on and talk about the propaganda that has been fed against us and how many of us believe it also. Because we came up in the same ideology that others have. And I'm going to do a show I don't normally do. They're talking about relationships and all because I figure, I'm not even worried about no relationships no more. I just can't see these old folks getting on here worrying about dating like they in high school or something. If I see a woman I want, I let her know my intention. Hey, if I come to you and talk to you and I don't tell you I want you, I'm just talking, having a conversation with you. I let my intention be known. I didn't get too old to be around here trying to date and court. Well, I look like a man my age. This is my girlfriend. I'm going with a girlfriend. I'm dating her. Do y'all know what a date is? A date with somebody. You can take a friend on a date. Go out, movie, get something to eat. Now people take dating like it's marriage. A man dating me, he got to help me pay my bills. Who the hell you think you are? They're your bills, you pay them. You're supposed to be an adult. Pay your own bills. It's not for somebody else to pay your bills. I pay bills where I live. If you and I don't stay in the same place, I'm not paying not one bill. And you can't pay them, you will get your roommate to move out. Become a responsible adult. But I'm going to do a show about that because black men and black women are becoming two different entities. It's It's just that when I hear black men talk, he talk about black people, but black women only want to talk about black women. And if you think you're gonna make it on your own, you're greatly mistaken. Because if they come, they're not coming for us separately. They come they coming for they don't see you as just black women. They see you. They look at the color of your skin. That's what they going by. I had one black woman. Well, I say that for the show. Let me say this: the boycotted Target. She was saying, Al Sharpton and Reverend, what's his name? The pastor that's kept leaving the boycott. Oh, what's his name? Brian. Reverend Brian. They shouldn't be the one going and negotiating with Target. Even though they initiated it. I know Al Sharpton did. I knew she was getting around to. She said, when I'm at Target, I'm in there smelling candles. I don't see any men up in there. We need a woman to go in and negotiate. You have negotiation skills just because you're a woman? You expect to go in Target to see men snipping on candles? You think because a person is a customer, that gives them negotiating skills? That shows right there how stupid you are. We think many times, as much as I like Jasmine Crockett, matter of fact, you've probably seen the picture I had of her. Much as I like her, because she have good comebacks and witty, doesn't mean she's able to go in and negotiate. Maybe she can. I'm not saying she can't now. She's very smart. But when she is an attorney, but everyone doesn't have negotiating skills. I think she would be a good part of a negotiating team. Because that's what Target has, a negotiating team. We just look for, I think one black person gonna go in there and negotiate. I think Jasmine Crockett would be good on the negotiating team. I think Maxine Waters would be, if you're going to have some women. Jeffries, I heard he's a very good negotiator, but but he gotta get some balls. I'm one of them to say he gotta get some back. He's too soft in his approach. The Republicans are coming like pit bulls, and they're coming like French poodles. But yeah, we have to stop this divisiveness because people like Vivica Fox say when you say black people, you're not talking about black women. Black women are people, as I heard. But look, we're not going to do that. Let's stop that. We got to work together and do things together. Because when they talk about the election, they split they used to say the black vote. Now they're splitting it up between black men and women. We've always voted in the high 80s to middle 90s. But the Democrats, and we did the same thing this time. It veered down a little low this time because a lot of men got tired of being excluded. I looked at Kamala Harris and her campaign. You look in the backdrop, you saw everybody but a black man back there. Somebody needed to tell her. They said there were many black people at her rallies. But when Trump had enough sense to put some paid stepping bitches back there, they needed some black men back there. Many of them felt disenfranchised. But I never feel that much disenfranchised to vote for Trump because many of them look at Trump like he's Scarface or somebody. Make jokes about why they voted for him. Look, many of the people, all of them I know voted for Trump, the black guys and the black women. Because black women voted for 10% for Trump. So we talk about the black males who voted. 9 out of 10 black women voted for Kamala. 8 out of 10 black men voted for Kamala. So it wasn't that much difference. But when I listen to the black people who say I ain't gonna say black people included, who voted for Trump, it's like it's a big joke to them. They voted for him to hurt somebody else or to see someone else suffer. There was out of ridiculous, silly reasons. They didn't vote for policy, they voted for Trump. I'm looking at that gnat trying to get on my lens over there. Yeah, he tried to get on it. My lens right there. I hope he don't. See, they coming around these lights. Because I cut all the other lights out because the light over here was shining on my head and have a big old light spot there. And I only have studio lights on. But look, we're going to have to, I'm going to do a show about that, about, black men and women. I normally don't get off into that. And it's not going to be about no dating stuff. Your dating life, that's for you to worry about. It's not going to be to cause no argument. It's not to put anyone down. We got to start talking and stop getting offended every time someone says something about us. That way we never learn. We're just going to have a comeback at each other. Because none of us are perfect. Black men don't treat black women perfect. Black women don't treat black men perfect. And all of our approaches are not perfect. So we have to learn. But like I said, mine is not going to be about who's dating who's cheating on who. Go somewhere else for that. But it's not going to be about that. It's going to be about us as a people. How we're going to have to operate as a people and not divide it, because the only time we work together is when we attack physically. So they did down in Birmingham when they attacked on that dock. When the black men, they threw a few of them white women in the water, but the black men, they were reluctant really to kind of hit the women. Next thing you know, here came the cavalry. Those black women came there and they took care of business. That's the way we got to operate. Have each other's back. Not try to act like as though one has to eliminate the other, because we can't eliminate ourselves from each other. And then cry where's the other at when they get on our butts. We're going to need each other, and we're going to need each other very soon. And I'm going to tell you people, I'm not counting on no midterm election because it may not be any. If Trump have his way. Because many of you didn't get out and vote. You said there's no difference in Democrats and Republicans. Now you still say that. You still say that you're a damn fool. And I don't even have no time to waste on you trying to explain it to you. If you don't see it by now. In St. Louis, Tashara Jones, only 40% of the people voted. She had no business losing that election. Excellent mayor, I think. She had no business losing that election. Y'all seem to like white women mayors over there in St. Louis. Come over here and let us school y'all in politics or something. Y'all do some silly stuff. And then talk about us. Now I'm talking about y'all St. Louis. That woman had no business. Tashara Jones had no business losing that election. The black guy who was chief, why in the world is he gone? Now the state has control of your police department. If others can put theirs in place, we can put ours in place. As others can hide theirs because there's no problem when it's white on. Oh, let me say this before I go. I know this is another matter, but I just have to talk about this. But we're going to do that show maybe tomorrow about the, the men and women have to come together. You know the floods down in Texas? They're trying to blame that on DEI. You know how they're doing it? They're trying to blame a black fire chief. When really, the National Weather Service was cut out. The people didn't even get a warning. They couldn't even get a warning about the weather. They're trying to blame it on the black fire chief, saying it's because he's a DEI hire. But it's a black fire chief who's the chief 120 miles away from the flood. And they're trying to blame it on him. See how crazy these people are? We're not dealing with sane people. It's like the Democrats and others are fighting with the law and they're not obeying the law. We're going by the rules, but they're not going by the rules. There is no more Constitution. There is no more Supreme Court to back things up. They're all with Trump now. I see why some of these nations have to have a military coup. The military has to take over. Because this nation does not have anything in place to deal with a rogue president. It doesn't have nothing in place. They don't know what if something's ruled against him, it's like a request because he don't have to obey it if he don't want to. They can arrest him. And the Supreme Court gave him even more power. We already have a dictator. We're not heading into it. This country is already in fascism. It already is. But to blame a man, that's like saying we have a flood here and you blame the fire chief in Springfield because we had a flood here. But with that, I'm gonna let you go tonight. But remember to back the Juneteenth committee with the pageant that they're having. I'm gonna play the commercial one time before I leave. Yeah, be sure to back them because they're trying to get they're gonna have the Illinois pageant, and later there will be a national pageant. We're gonna have the Miss Illinois, but we're gonna have I say it is, it's one from this area. They're gonna choose queen from this area to compete for Miss Illinois, and then later they'll compete for the national pageant. Last year we had the national pageant here in East St. Louis. Well, at least in O'Fallon, Fairview Heights. Well, that was Fairview Heights where it was at. But it was in this area. That was the national pageant. And they had some really nice contestants. The girls was well behaved, they were articulate, they are very feminine. Don't want no girl coming in there talking about what's up, trying to be queen. We need to bring back some charm and gentleman school. And gentlemen and boys, go for you too. We got to develop some ladies and gentlemen. But look, but on their pageant, I have to veer off into things. It's me by myself. I have to start getting my guests back on. But look, they're going to have the pageant. It's going to be on the 19th. Wait a minute, let me put that up for you to see right here. This is going to be the pageant. And, they're going to have that pageant. You can read it for yourself. And that's their Cash App. Donate to them if you can. Because we want it to be a nice pageant. But, they can enjoy. And you can enjoy. So let's get with them and help them out. And then we can have a very good pageant. I'm going to help out as much as I can. We're going to try to keep this going because we support everyone else's holidays. Let's support our own. Because other people not gonna support us like we support them. Let's just face it, they're not. So we have to keep this going for ourselves. No one is gonna help us like we help us, and we haven't been doing a very good job of it. And we're gonna get ready also for National Night Out, but we'll come up with that. We'll show you that later. We're gonna try to go live with that if we can. If not, we'll record it for you. So I'm going to get ready to get out of here. I've been talking long enough. Oh man. I talk longer when I'm by myself than when I have guests. Just rambling all over the place. I'm going to have guests soon when I'm going to have them. They don't necessarily have to be, I can have any guests anywhere around the world here. I finally figured out my setup where I can have my guests zoom in on my platform here, where they could just be where they're at and I'm where I'm at, and I can put them on split screen or put them up with me, and they don't necessarily have to be here with me. They can be in Los Angeles and I'm here and we're going live together. So we're going to start doing that. But as soon as I test my system out, so you may see something come up one day says test. That's me testing my system out to make sure I can bring my guest in. And starting next week, you're going to see something on the cable channel. I'm going to fire it back up. I got the wires ran and I got to test it out. And Roku is setting up my Roku. So we're going to be broadcasting on a lot of different places, because that's what I'm into, like I told you. Broadcasting, production. That's all I do. That's all I want to do. I'm ready to call it a good night. I've been talking long enough. I thank you all for tuning in, though. Like I said, I get my guest in. I want to ramble like I do. I'm beginning to like to talk. I usually like to talk. I'm a new talker. First, I was coughing when I first came. I wasn't used to running my mouth for so long. I'm a new talker. I see now I like to talk. So I'm gonna call it a good night. But I'm gonna run that commercial one more time for Juneteenth, because I really want to see this supported. And with that, I'm gonna get ready to call it a good night. And I hope you all tune in. Like I said, tomorrow night, I'm thinking we're gonna do that about the black men and black women being divided. But like I said, I don't want to talk about I'm not talking about all those dating stuff. You all got to solve that stuff yourself. So I'm going to call it a good night. So tune in tomorrow for that show if you can. It'll be around 9 o'clock. So I like to say, on behalf of myself, thank you for tuning in and good night. But watch this commercial one more time from about the Juneteenth pageant. Juneteenth has passed, but the pageant coming up. So thanks for tuning in and good night.
Let's walk. I don't talk, I move in grace. Let them guess what's on my plate. Watch my tone, I fix my pace. I don't rush, I navigate. Used to argue, now I glide. Let my silence kill the pride. If it don't feed peace inside, then it don't deserve my time. Then I walk like a queen, I dress like a spell. My presence a sermon, my spirit don't yell. Then I speak with my bill, I teach with my rest. My crown ain't for cloud, my life is the flex. I don't battle, I design. Made a brand out of my mind. Planet systems took my time. Build a kingdom from their grind. Cut the noise, protect my soul.